before we get this started, I'd like to introduce anybody watching to our very first RWBY podcast. We'll be discussing the episode, and I am I am one of the hosts, Mediocrity 4, and if you'd all like to introduce yourselves, go ahead.
Okay, well, you can call me high-powered. I will be moderating this to the best of my abilities.
I'm Dudewhattheheck. I will be trying to talk about Renora any chance I get.
I'm CJthedude. You can just call me CJ or whatever. And I'm just here to talk and speculate and discuss.
Okay, so let's get started. So basically, what we got this episode was we got a pretty fair amount of development with Tai and Yang. We definitely get a window into the dynamic of that household, which was very good. Also, we see some two of the teachers cameoing, showing up.
Cameoing.
Yeah, cameoing in.
I'd say more than cameoing, though. I thought.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Yeah, that was great. I loved seeing them a bit more. We'll get into that later, but
I agree. Yes, they're showing up. Put a big smile on my face.
Yeah, for sure.
The series then also cuts to Crow and Raven, which was a big surprise that Raven shows up this episode.
That was probably the meatiest plot-wise that happened, which I was expecting Yang's thing to be the meatiest plot-wise, but I think actually it was Crow and Raven kind of stole the show.
Well,
yeah, so
Crow's been stealing the show since he freaking showed up in the crowbar last volume.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. That's 100% accurate.
And then also we have a very short but very entertaining scene with now the nameless farmhand now has a name, Oscar. So, and it looks like Ozpin is Skype calling Oscar from inside his head. So I bet that's fun. So let's start out with Tai and Yang for the character breakdown.
You sure you don't want to start with Oscar just because that part was so short?
Yeah, let's move to Oscar first.
Let's just do that real quick because I want to point out that we haven't done podcasts for this whole season yet. We just started with this one, but I know we talked about the beginnings. Like we had no idea what this guy. Well, some people had theories, and I know one of us, and it wasn't me, said that he had to do with Ozpin, and I said I didn't want this guy to be important at all unless he was involved with Ozpin in some way. I was worried he was going to end up being like a fifth wheel to Team Ranger, but as it turns out, he's got something to do with Ozpin instead, so I don't hate him anymore. So I like that that's what he's involved with. I have no idea what exactly happened, but now I'm actually interested in him. I'm not mad at him anymore. I'm actually interested in what he's going to be like now.
Yeah, he's Diggory Kirk. The magician's nephew. That's my theory.
I just look forward to how his character arc will play out. I feel this is intense speculation, but I feel that his will probably be like a mostly solo act of him just following around Ozpin's voice inside his head doing things.
Yeah, see, and that'd be totally cool with that. That'd actually be pretty interesting. Because again, it's not that kind of focuses it more on Ozpin than on the kid himself, which is what I would like to see. It's almost like we're just getting some Ozpin stuff. But the other thing is
from the kid, we know some stuff, mainly that we know that that's how Ozpin's coming back into the show.
Yeah.
And we know we could have speculated that even if we didn't get what we did from the last episode. If we knew that his name was Oscar, we could have had some speculation from that. Because the Wizard of Oz, from the Wizard of Oz, his first name is Oscar.
Yeah, I have that pulled up. The Wizard of Oz's full name from the book is Oscar Zoroaster Faldrick Isaac Norman Hinkle Emmanuel Ambroise Diggs, and I probably mispronounced part of that.
And
I don't blame you.
The thing is, because obviously his first name is Oscar, and we've got Ozpin to do with it, a thing that could be coming into play here is Ozpin takes over the kid or something to do with that.
That's what I was that's one thing I was thinking too. That's definitely possible, but it's so short. Like what we got, all we really got was that Ozpin introduced himself, right?
Yeah,
basically.
It was basically.
There's not much.
Go ahead.
It's not. So there's not a ton to speculate on. I guess in my mind, I just saw it as confirmation that I like the direction they're taking this character in, and I didn't really look into it too far after that because we had already talked about that. This was probably how Ozpin was going to get back into the show anyway. So that was kind of the end of it for me after that. But I'm happy with this is the direction they're taking the character in, I guess.
Yeah, it was basically just confirmation of how Ozpin was going to get back because no one thought that Ozpin was actually dead.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was just like, we were all like, what? When that was in the first episode of this fall, you're like, no, he's not dead. Just don't even play that game.
Cinder, you useless lesbian, you're lying.
Well,
I think she really thought that he was dead.
I mean, how does she know that he's now possessing a young nubile boy? Well, not possessing, I'd say becoming headmates with one.
We got it. Is he gonna end up like it's gonna end up like Yu-Gi-Oh or some shit?
That's what I was thinking of. I know I've seen this. I know I've seen stuff like this before, and I've even done it in RWBY Beyond with Raven and Avarice. But yeah, or like Greed and Ling in Full Metal Alchemist.
I want it to be like I don't want it to be like regular Yu-Gi-Oh. I want it to be like Yu-Gi-Oh the Abridged series. That's what I want it to be like. I want Ozpin to be the douchey Yugi.
That'll be some good stuff.
We got all that stuff with Oscar. Now, from what we've got so far with Oscar, obviously we know he does a bit on the farm. We know he's actually got a family now. And so what do you think the characters, like, how do you think properly he's going to end out being? Do you think he is just going to be a way for Ozpin to come back or whatever?
I'm not sure. First of all, I'd like to point out that his family are a bunch of dicks for making him sleep in the barn.
Yeah.
Maybe he likes it there. You don't know.
That's true. I just speak stupid. But we honestly have no idea. I think that's talking about stuff like that is probably a little overly speculative because we don't know where he is in relation to any of the other characters. We can assume he's not in Vacuo, but otherwise we don't really know. Technically, we don't even know if this is in the same timeline right now. If we really want to be a little bit crazy, we don't actually know. But I would just say but there's still very little that we actually know. He's a kid. He has at least a mom. He works on a farm. His name's Oscar. Ozpin said hi. I'm Professor Ozpin.
Yeah, it's actually his aunt. She's credited as Oscar's aunt.
Oh, and, really? Interesting.
This is kind of my speculation. I think he's in Vale somewhere. And it's because,
if we had to guess, I would say probably yeah.
Like, not only is the scenery, like, very similar to what we've seen in Vale so far, but also, like, just the name Vale, like, inspiration-wise, is the curtain that Ozpin hid behind, or that the Wizard of Oz hid behind. Like, he is the man behind the curtain. Ozpin is the man behind Vale. So Vale is his, like, territory.
Also, the fact that Ozpin was just based in Vale, it makes sense that he'd come back by being in Vale, or coming through.
Yeah, that's true.
In Vale.
Or also whatever objectives he needs that boy to accomplish and somehow convince that boy to do what the voice inside of your head is telling him to do is probably within reasonable proximity to what needs to be done. This is kind of jumping ahead, but especially with the relics, maybe Crow doesn't know where the relics are, and only Ozpin knows, or where the relic is, and only Ozpin knows, and so maybe that boy will go on a solo quest to acquire said relic for safekeeping.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of comedic possibility with this matchup, and
for sure.
How much fun? Like, how much, caffeine did they give Shannon McCormick before they had him record that first line?
Oh, God, I know, right?
He sounds so happy.
Yeah. I think Shannon was just so happy to be recording again, maybe, or something like that. Yes, they didn't kill my character. I'm here.
I really needed to pay that mortgage.
Exactly. Shannon McCormick has not been that happy since he was recording the Maiden World of Remnant.
Yeah, that's pretty much accurate.
I honestly hope we get another World of Remnant like that, because I really thought that was a winner right there, even though it was kind of redundant because all the Maiden stuff was covered in basically a previous episode.
Yeah.
Let's not get started on the World of Remnant. I've seen
Yeah,
Media's videos on
yeah.
this, and I agree with him entirely. So we're just going to start ranting on how bad World of Remnants are
Yeah,
if we
well,
get into that.
I did kind of come on that one's defense because that was the original script of Volume 3, Episode 6, and they cut it for time, and then took that like audio and then just put visuals to it for that World of Remnant.
Okay, so I think we definitely have a good idea, or well, plenty of good thoughts about Oscar and his character, and I just want to see more of his screen, just more of him on the screen. He doesn't need to be the focus of the episode, but if he ghosts in for like a 2-minute long scene and then ghosts back out, I'm more than happy with that.
If they keep doing it that way, I'd be perfectly happy with that. It's fine adding a new character if it's really just to get one of the old characters added back in. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, I feel he's going to be a pretty solo act, even though Ozpin is riding along inside of his head. So I think now we can move on to probably the meatiest and most delicious part of this episode. So it opens up where Crow is in a tavern overlooking Team Ranger. Actually, let's rewind that a little bit.
Actually, that comes later.
So
that's the meatiest part. So let's get to Yang first, and then we get to Crow and Raven. Because that's probably what we'll spend the most time on, let's be honest.
Okay, yeah. So let's roll into Tai and Yang. So basically the whole scene opens up with her dream sequence and waking up from the dream. She then goes downstairs, overhearing the conversation between Professor Port and Dr. Oobleck and Tai, and they're reminiscing about the good times whenever Tai was still in class with Team Stark. And banter and hilarity ensues also, and we also get a good look into... Yes.
we need... This is the most important thing from this episode that we need. We need fan art of Crow in a skirt.
Oh, that's gonna be all over the place.
Yes. Anyone who is on DeviantArt, just draw it up.
Yeah,
draw it up.
They will. That's gonna go. That's what's gonna be the main topic of discussion on Facebook groups and Reddit and everything this week. Like it's gonna be the Whitley and the Butler of this week's episode, basically, or the shipping war of this week will be Crow in a skirt. Yeah, which I'm fine with. It's going to be less annoying than the last couple of weeks of of pointless talk we've had.
And then if you draw it, tweet it out to Vic Mignogna. Because I'm sure he'll love it.
Oh, sure, yeah. But anyways, let's this scene was interesting because I remember watching right before the season started or volume started, whatever. They were Carrie and Miles did a few interviews, and in all of them they were sort of trying to say that no, we're gonna make this volume happier than the previous one. We're not gonna stay super dark. And that's just the interesting thing though. Like it has been in some ways, but like they've been sprinkling in, especially when we get to Crow and Raven, they've definitely been sprinkling in shit that's just as dark, if not darker, than what was going on in the previous volume. But they're keeping the lighter tone. Like they definitely have more comedy than the previous one, which is great. But they're doing that so they can sneak in the fact that there's way darker stuff they're gonna have that the characters will have to deal with this season, the next season, and the season after, and stuff like that. Which I think I like that. I'm happy with that. I didn't want it to go too light. I'm glad they're still touching on heavy issues and things like that.
Yeah, even the dark stuff, at least in this episode, still had that kind of comedic edge because again, it's Crow that we're dealing with, and he's
true.
Yeah, and Raven is just as snarky. You got the whole scene with Port and Oobleck. Just RWBY has not been that funny in a very long time.
That was very refreshing.
I had a very big shit-eating grin on my face during that entire scene. There's some quality bants in that household.
Yeah. Also, shout-outs to Tai Yang for the sickest burn we'll probably ever hear on this show.
Yeah, that crossed.
Oh my god, that was ridiculous.
I look forward to triggering people.
My actual one problem with this episode, probably my two biggest problems, only two complaints with this episode. One, no Renora development, but whatever, that's fine. We'll get that later. Two,
Well,
I
that's
did
what
not
we said.
I did not expect Yang to be okay with that, with him saying that. Like, I thought she should have been at least actually mad for a little bit. That was a little bit weird because that
In
was
fairness,
low.
she was okay with it. Right?
That's true. That's true.
He-
But it seemed like she
he
was.
says
That was a
it.
bit weird.
And yeah, but also, have you ever had a point in your life when someone says something and you have to play it off like it's cool because at that moment there are people around that you don't exactly want to see you get mad about something?
That's true.
Her dad
Yeah.
said something in front of 2 teachers from her school. She did look clearly hurt by what he said, but then just played it off like she was, okay with it. Now that could either mean she was sort of shocked that he said it, but was
Yeah.
actually okay, or she was really hurt by what he said, but didn't want to say anything about it in front of Ublik and Port.
There's nothing wrong with tough love either, too. Also, as Ty makes it clear, also with his motivational speech after the end of that joke, basically saying it's like, so what? You've lost your arm. It's like you could still do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, and the show's proven that you can. I mean, we've seen Mercury, we've seen
Robo Daddy.
Yeah, Robo Daddy. I mean, come on, they're almost stronger because of their prosthetics. So
Yeah.
we know that that's not going to technically be the thing that's holding her back.
Yeah, and kind of rewinding to the beginning of that whole sequence with the dream, Yang's not. It seems like she's not as torn up about the fact that she lost her arm as much as she is how
That
she
she was
lost her
beaten.
arm. That how she lost her arm. Like in
Exactly.
in that dream, she has both her arms and her weapons, and she's still just running scared from Adam.
Yeah, she's scared shitless of Adam, which I loved that sequence. Like that was it's good to still see her dealing with that. And that was
Yeah, it's like sort of she's more scared of the fact that she actually lost the arm than the fact that she doesn't have an arm anymore. And
yeah.
that she's dreaming about it and she's trying to fight in her dreams kind of shows that even though she may not show that she's still going on the inside, she does want revenge from Adam. We can see that from the dream.
Or at least she doesn't want what happened to her at that time to happen to her again. And definitely she doesn't want what happened to Blake to ever happen to another one of her teammates too also. Because I feel that she feels that she let herself down by getting beaten like that. I have a feeling she also feels guilty for Blake getting stabbed at the end of Volume 3 also.
Do we know that though? Because honestly, it's interesting. Like, okay, Bumblebee or not, there's definitely a strong relationship between Blake, or was a strong relationship between Blake and Yang. And we shouldn't go into this too deep right now, but we actually haven't seen any of her thoughts on Blake right now. Whereas, because let's be honest, at the end of Volume 3, she didn't have sympathy for what happened to Blake at all. She was just pissed, which, I mean, that's how I would be too if she left the way she did. But we don't know exactly how she feels about Blake. I'm not sure if there's really much guilt there. I would imagine there's still more anger, personally. If I had to guess, I would guess anger.
Yeah, that's kind of been a problem with Yang from the beginning, is that we don't really get a whole lot of insight on what she's feeling or how she's feeling. Like, we get that one scene halfway through Volume 2, and then we get the end of Volume 3, and that's pretty much it. Like, this is one of the reasons why I don't like the Volume 1 finale, is that, like, when Weiss and Blake are getting into each other's faces and stuff, Yang's just sitting there with a blank stare on her face, like she's just set dressing.
Yeah. That was always the problem I had with Yang. I never liked her as a character until she lost her arm, honestly, because she didn't ever really.
It wasn't until the backstory for me.
Yeah, she didn't really do too much, really, as far as I was concerned. She was a very flat character.
She made puns, so
yeah, she made puns, but everybody liked that. But that doesn't mean she was a super interesting character. She was just, the bubbly, happy-go-lucky, go-with-the-flow kind of character. And now she's got a lot more to her. So
yeah, the thing is, she didn't actually start making puns until Volume 2.
That's true, actually.
Yeah, she didn't start making puns until Volume 2.
I think that was a request from the voice actor that those be written in.
Yeah, and well, I mean, they get Barbara Dunkelman to voice her and they write the character around her, and then don't give her any puns in Volume 1.
She must have been getting some tutoring of some kind for the voice acting stuff too, also, because her voice acting's been pretty spot on this volume too, also.
Has been, definitely,
Yeah.
which is good. Yeah, we haven't had anything to
she's-
complain about with her.
Yeah, she's certainly improved. Really, the voice acting in this whole show has been pretty solid, like surprisingly solid. Like, I know, like, this is kind of off topic for this episode because she only had like 1 or 2 lines in this episode, but Lindsay Jones, man, wow.
Well, she's been bringing it really hard since Volume 3. Let's be honest. Volume 3,
I'd
really...
even say since Volume 1. Like she's been on point.
Well,
she's been on point from the very beginning, and then in Volume 3, she just like brought it.
Yeah.
Which one's Lindsay Jones again?
RWBY.
Okay, yeah, no, yeah, I definitely agree. Especially like Volume 3, it shows up, but then in Volume 4, it really does. Minus like the really awkward laugh in Episode 1.
I think that was probably on purpose too. That was probably more of a directing or like writing error than her error, I would say, personally.
It was more of a timing thing, actually. Like that, the reason why that joke doesn't work is because it went on for too long.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. As I said, directing or like it's not her fault. Like they could have cut it or something.
Yeah, her laugh is still adorable and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but the thing is, yeah, it's true. Of all the things that critics really complain about RWBY, which there's, of course, especially in the beginning, there's plenty of things to complain. There were especially plenty of things to complain about the show. The voice acting was honestly one of the things that was touched on the least, despite the fact that they were probably the most amateur out of all the people working on the show. Because for the most part, they did a very good job, and the people that really counted, specifically RWBY, have been surprisingly very good. Like, there's a decent amount of people that you didn't know could act that can act really well at Rooster Teeth. Ryan, for example, if you watch the 10 Little Roosters thing, guy's a pretty great actor, actually. Michael's been getting tons of anime voice parts lately. He's very good as a voice actor. Very good. Both the Joneses basically turned out to be really, really great voice actors.
Yeah, Michael Jones, his show Rage Quit is actually what got me into Rooster Teeth.
Really interesting. Yeah, and so it turns out he's actually quite a good voice actor. So
I'm going to try to steer this train back onto the tracks.
Sure.
So,
yeah, good idea.
So now basically we're kind of at the point where it's the conversation between the two professors, Tai and Yang, is basically coming to an end. Another good thing that I feel needs to be brought up too also is we kind of get a little glimpse of kind of the dynamic growing up between Tai and Crow. They definitely seem to be probably pretty good friends whenever they were on the same team together, probably cracking jokes on each other and just like having good banter with each other, which it's interesting because at the end of Volume 3, there does seem to be tension between the two of them, which we kind of are getting more ideas of what the split was between the team. I have a feeling it probably has a lot to do with Raven leaving and Summer's death.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely does feel nice to see that like there was a time whenever like Team Stark seemed to get along quite well, especially between Tai and Crow, with how Dr. Oobleck was recounting the whole kilt/skirt fiasco at the school.
Yeah, that was great. That was very enjoyable. It's good to see the professors. And it was actually a pretty funny story anyway, so they did a decent job. I did a pretty good job writing that, I'd say, too. And it was nice to see the professors also be encouraging to Yang also, which I thought was cool. It was nice to see Port as something more than just a self-aggrandizing, kind of creepy professor, like to give him a little bit more character than that. I thought that was pretty cool, too.
His character reminds me of like just that old big game hunter that has just been all over the world and has just like gone out and experienced it all. And I really hope they like as a gag later on, like just a mouse runs across the room and then he just like jumps up and like grabs on like a chandelier or something, like get it away, kill it. Or he pulls out his like blunderbuss axe thing and just blows a hole in the wall where the mouse was.
Yeah.
Another really important thing too that came out from this episode, which kind of gives us a little bit of insight into Yang, is towards the end as Tai and the professors are saying their goodbyes is how Yang overhears the reason why Tai hasn't gone after RWBY is because he wants to make sure that Lake kind of gets back to a sense of normalcy, and mainly, I think, in all honesty, more just independence.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was very well done. And if I had to guess, I would say that was probably the last big push that got her to put the arm on at the end of the show.
Yeah, and there was a lot of telling in that scene, but there was also a lot of showing, especially with how, like with the facial animations. That's another thing I want to bring up too, especially with this new volume, is that the facial animations that we have them now, but especially with the facial animations between the professors at that last scene, and then, you know, Tai glancing over at the window to her room, and just the look on Yang's face as she's eavesdropping in on that conversation. So it definitely kind of gets sort of the attitude. We can kind of see how Yang's attitude is with Ty's personality and Raven's personality. There seems to be a pretty reasonable mix on it, although I think it's more on the Ty side of her personality archetype, though, than Raven's.
Yeah,
and so,
which makes sense.
And so that basically ends that scene. So now we're going to get to probably the juiciest part of this episode. So it opens up with Team Ranger, and they're sitting there reading the map, walking along. They're like, man, it sure is great. We haven't had to fight any Grimm or anything recently. This is really nice. Pans over to a cliffside.
What a coincidence. Crow just happens to kill a Grimm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we see Crow has been ghosting them and following them. Two thought processes come up into my mind, and you all can comment on this later or whatever. So the first thing that came up into my mind is that Team RWBY is in way over their head. And then I really kind of sat down and I thought about it and had a couple of shots of tequila. And then I honestly think the reason why Crow is ghosting them is that Crow is trying to keep them on a timetable and wants them to get to Mistral for whatever reason.
Yeah, because really when you look at it, it was a slightly weird scene, and it could definitely be misleading for a lot of people, I think, because what we saw was just a few, like, it's just a few Beowulfs and stuff, right? I mean, I'm sure it would be annoying for them to fight more, but you're right. Like, what it looked like he was stopping them from dealing with was not a big deal for them. I think you're right about the whole timetable thing, because that's not really anything that they couldn't handle.
Yeah, and I think it might have been more like he might have been doing it more for himself than for like Team Ranger. Like he just needed to blow off some steam and slaughter some Beowulfs.
That's a good possibility.
But about that scene, like it's a little small like nod, but it's still just like RWBY's characterization being on point, and she's been definitely the most consistent character since episode 1. But the whole like Jean's being very pessimistic and thinking that like they're gonna get there and the village is gonna be burned down, and then RWBY's like, whatever, no it's not. Like just total optimism.
Yeah, she's still that same character. She hasn't changed all that much yet. I mean, that's something some people can complain about. She's very much the Harry Potter of this show right now, but because it still might be too early to see her changing. But it's still nice to see that characterization from people like Jean. Like it's because it's weird, because at the beginning, the very first episode, one of my concerns was that he didn't seem too upset about what had happened, and you would imagine he would. And since then, they've kind of gone back and shown the fact that he is still dealing with Pyrrha's death, and there's definitely a lot that he has to be upset about. So I'm glad to see that they're keeping that consistent, at least now at this point.
Well, he basically wears her.
Yeah, exactly. Once he put her on him, basically, that's when he started being a little bit more depressed.
God damn it. And so another thing that I feel should be brought up, I don't know if this is just how they're writing, but if you noticed, whenever that Grimm was killed, there was also other dead Grimm in the background. And from what it looks like, that Grimm didn't even know Crow was there. So I'm assuming that's just, his experience as being such a high-level huntsman that.
He's just like
Well,
so
it could have,
quick.
it could have all been, like what CJ just said, it could have all just been in a second.
Yeah, he's either just that quick, or he's just good at suppressing his emotions to where they don't see him, or they're less likely to react to him. And instead of, I think the Grimm would probably notice the presence of 4 people together than just the presence of one person by themselves. It'd be easier to slide under the radar, but that's just speculation.
Or one thing that's also, a thing we saw when he got his scythe out, and he was running towards Ironwood, and he killed that Grimm. That was in a kind of slow motion, because obviously he jumped and it was in the air for ages. That was in slow motion, and he still cut down that Grimm extremely fast. It is possible that he just killed all the other Grimm and then killed that last Grimm basically instantly after killing all of them, because none of them had disappeared either. So
they failed their initiative and perception roll.
Yeah, basically.
And then so now it moves on to where it's raining and Team Ranger have just arrived at the inn, and of course Uncle Crow is in the place where he belongs, drinking in a bar. And we learned something.
Character, the waitress.
And we learned something very important about Crow. It's been confirmed that Crow is an ass man. So he is my hombre, and there is nothing y'all can say about that.
No, I'm with you on that. Totally ass over boobs. Okay, so anyway.
So it gets whenever the scene started out and the waitress brings him the drink and the line is dropped, it's like, oh, you're used to bottom shelf stuff from the lady upstairs, and I'm like, oh boy, that's Raven. Even before we actually got the confirmation it was Raven, it's like, this is obvious.
You just know.
Well, she does say that woman upstairs with red eyes. It's either Raven or Emerald, and well, the hell would Emerald be doing?
Don't think it's Emerald.
I don't think Emerald could act her way to pretend to be Raven.
Yeah, Emerald's still too busy being scared shitless of where she is right now.
Yeah, I don't think Emerald would be able to escape from Salem long enough to.
But she still has to be with Cinder Senpai too.
Yeah, she is so far up Cinder's ass right now.
Yeah, she is. She's like, I cannot pull my head out of here right now.
It's got really fast internet. Why would I leave?
When you say it though, it technically, alright, this is a very, very far-fetched thing. I mean, it could be, to some respect or something, it could be Emerald. Because think about it. If Crow actually wants to tell Raven where the relic is, and Emerald's disguised herself using illusions to do Raven, and Crow just gives that information, then Salem knows where the relic is. So technically, it's not too bad a theory to say, yeah, that's Emerald. But
we need a button that's for a sound effect that's a Sunny D alarm.
Yeah,
and we just edit that in before
Raven.
that happens.
And I brought up Emerald because when the waitress says red eyes, it's like
red eyes.
There's only 2 women that we've seen with red eyes.
or angry Yang.
When she's angry.
Yeah, Yangry Yang.
Okay, so then it cuts to Crow, just reluctantly. Well, it's not really reluctantly, but he knows how he probably already knows how this conversation he's going to have with his sister is going to go anyway. So
yeah.
When that conversation begins, and we probably get some of the best delivered.
Best thing about Raven though, she's snarky too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's that Brandwin DNA.
Serious.
Yeah, it's nice to get her to actually have some personality now, because that's something obviously we haven't had from her yet.
Well, I mean,
so when Crow goes to sit down, he doesn't sit down till she's moved the mask away. So
yeah,
that mask, something iffy going on with it, or is it just a representation of the tribe?
I think it's representation. I think it's symbolic of the monster that Raven has become.
Yes, I definitely agree with that.
Trying to save her people, so just sort of she's a monster to some people, but she is also trying to save her people. Whereas Salem, she's just trying to sort of destroy everything. So
yeah,
she's Salem's a sort of misunderstood, depends on your point of view kind of character.
Yeah, that's going to be another big argument that people are going to go over and over again. But again, something that we don't really know where exactly on the morality or whatever scale she lies on right now. But what I'm happy about is I like that we have confirmation she's not working with Salem, because that would just be stupid. And she's in this weird mercenary gray area as a character, and that's exactly what I was hoping she would be, because it's very interesting. The show had to me so far, the show hasn't really had that unless you count Torchwick. But Torchwick was always kind of like a bumbling, fun villain. Like, you never really thought Torchwick was that much of a threat. I mean, I never really did. He was awesome, but he doesn't really count as that, even though he's not as big of a baddie as the other ones are. It's really great to see Raven confirmed as
I think Torchwick was the threat because he was expendable. Salem could just use it.
Okay, yeah, but like, he wasn't, and basically the show has had the good guys and the really bad guys. That's kind of it, unless you're counting Emerald, who clearly wasn't happy about what happened at the end of Volume 3, and clearly isn't happy with the situation right now. But that's kind of different. Like, it's nice to have like a fully independent, sort of mercenary, gray moral area character,
Third party,
like Raven. Yeah, third party character. I'm glad the show is putting something like that in here. That it's going to add depth. It already has added a decent amount of depth to the show. This is, I mean, I don't know what everybody else agrees with. This is arguably one of the best episodes they've had yet in the entire show.
Yes, I agree.
This is possibly the best, actually. It's even better to me than the second episode of this volume. It's one of the better ones. I mean, it's definitely one of the better ones. Because so much is actually happening in previous volumes, nothing to this degree happened besides the end of Volume 3. But anyways, I don't know. I love this scene, and I love the direction they ended up taking Raven. And I was very nervous because we knew so little about her. And I'm really happy that this is what they're taking the direction in. And also, the fact that she is the leader of the tribe that attacked that group, that village, is really interesting. And I don't think it's a crack theory to think, and I mentioned this before, that she is very possibly responsible for the loss of Renanor's family. Because they clearly recognized that symbol, and she's clearly responsible for that. If that happened, that'd be really interesting. That'd be a crazy dynamic that they could add into the show. If she and like her family were responsible for what happened.
Yeah, I always knew that Raven would be the third party character when they introduced it, just from like her first scene, and then especially when Crow and Yang were talking about her in Volume 3, I was like, yeah, Raven is definitely in a third party type thing. And then so many people were like, oh no, she's working with Salem. And then like,
I never understood that.
We saw some scenes of her. The only scene we really saw of her that was completely true to the story, the dream sequence at the end of Volume 2, that's not really true to the story. That was like a thing that was just seen. The only scene we ever saw of her, she was saving Yang, and people go, she's working with Salem.
And then the only other time like she's mentioned, Crow says that Raven had a tip for him on his most recent assignment. That most recent assignment being investigating Mistral.
Yeah, that and the fact that he said she's got a way of looking at the world that he doesn't particularly agree with. If she was really that evil, that's not the line he would have used to describe her morality. So that's another thing that would have confirmed that she's not with Salem.
I think he takes more issue with the clan that she is in and in charge of. I feel definitely that he probably, whenever they were at Beacon Academy and at their time, I definitely feel that probably Ty and probably even Summer too had a big hand in him wanting to distance himself from that aspect of his life.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with Ozpin's influence on Crow's life, because Crow is obviously following in Ozpin's footsteps, and he wants Raven to come back. He wants Raven to leave the tribe and come back to Patra, come back to Vale. Like, and this is something I'm thinking about, and maybe we'll get more into this when we talk about theories. I want to know what Raven thinks of RWBY.
This is a very good question, which we will hold off till later. So now,
speculation and theories.
let us roll into what exactly did we learn from the conversation between the two of them. So, obviously, as mentioned before, she's the leader of the clan. Cool. She attacked that village along with said clan. From what Crow has insinuated, and it's very
someone in the
heavily
security.
assumed, is that she has someone very powerful in her group, potentially the Spring Maiden. And
That
she's
isn't just her.
also that isn't just her, and also that she is very concerned about the fact that the relic doesn't get in Salem's hands. Now,
Yeah,
she,
the whole what we are you talking about banter.
That was
yes.
very interesting. Yeah.
So I still am of the mindset that Crow does not know where the relic is, especially with what we've spoken about Oscar. That could definitely be it. It's still probably hidden somewhere. Like Crow knows of its existence, but he doesn't know of its whereabouts. Probably Raven doesn't even know what its existence. I mean, knows of its existence, but doesn't know of its whereabouts. Also,
Yeah.
if Crow didn't know the existence of the relic, I don't think he would. He would probably still play it off that he didn't know, mainly because he would probably want to try to barter that to bring the Spring Maiden into the fold against Salem, which it definitely feels that the Ozluminati, which is basically Crow right now, is severely on the back foot in comparison to how far the amount of progress that Salem has made in her plans.
Yeah, not only that, but it seems that whatever this relic is, Raven's kind of scared of it because Crow even makes a mention that Raven has never concerned herself with stuff like that up until now.
But and the way, yeah, and I agree with that. And the way he says it, like, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not fully convinced that the relic still isn't the cane or something in the cane. Because if I were Crow, I would have, if I had the relic, which assuming if the relic were the cane or something on the cane, that's how I would have tried to play it off. Like, I wouldn't have told her because clearly he doesn't fully trust her, and I wouldn't either if I were him. So we don't actually. I mean, it's possible that he doesn't know what the relic is, but it's also possible that he's well aware what the relic is, and he's just not saying anything. He didn't want to let on yet because she's not very trustworthy.
You say it's possible that he doesn't have the relic, but would he have really gone with Team Ranger if the relic, something of that much power, was still at Beacon, easy for the baddies to just...
No, that's true, and that's why I'm saying I'm pretty sure the relic is the... I think the relic is the... Yeah, no, I agree. And I said it's possible, but I do. If I had to guess, I would say at least 80% guess that the relic is the cane or something in the cane. Yeah. Almost, I'm pretty certain about that.
Or the cane is like a key to some vault or something.
Yeah, it's so I don't think so. I think that is the relic. I think he knows, and that's why he's not letting on to her. I think that's the way that scene played out, was the fact that he did know where it was. That he knows where it is. He didn't want to tell her. And I wouldn't either if I were him. Because that's the whole what are we talking about sort of thing. That he doesn't trust her with that information.
Right, until he gets some information out of her, she doesn't get any out of him.
Exactly. Even if he is on the back foot, and as powerful as we've seen that she is, like, we're well aware that he's probably at least comparable in power to her. He's probably one of the more powerful characters in the show, we can guess, and he's probably fine on his own, so he doesn't have to... He can be scared of the potential that Raven and her group hold, but in a one-on-one situation, he doesn't have to be technically afraid of her.
I feel that Raven wants the relic because I think in her mind, she assumes, if we make the assumption here, that they do have a Spring Maiden in their gang, crew, whatever, that if she was in possession of the relic, it would be much safer with her than in Crow's possession, where Crow basically just has him, and I don't know if he has any other backup outside of like calling in a Team Ranger to help out,
or the professors or whatever, but
or the professors, exactly. So it's reasonable to assume that the clan probably has more manpower and can probably better defend the relic than Crow could by himself, especially if they have the power of a seasonal maiden on their side. Also, too, I think there also could be the potential too where it's safe to assume that Salem probably knows of the existence of this clan, and
Yes.
and probably the reason why that the Spring Maiden has been so difficult to find is that whenever they go to these villages and then raid and pillage them, is that there's either no survivors, or if there are survivors, they bring them into the fold of the clan. As in, hey, you guys survived our attack. We're having tryouts. Tosses a sword in front of the survivors.
Yeah, a bit like Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Basically.
Do you fear death? I could see her saying something like that.
And so that would be something like, if I was thinking, if I was trying to put myself in Raven's boots, shoes, whatever you want to call them, that's what I feel that the relic would be better protected and or denied from Salem in her keeping with the clan. Which it honestly sounds like maybe the clan could even have some history trying to work against Salem also too. Maybe because Salem and her crew probably tried to get in the way or harm their clan once or in the past. Also, another thing that needs to be brought up too also is how basically Crow immediately starts beating Raven over the head for what happened to Yang.
Yeah,
there's definitely a look of guilt on it, as in she wanted to do more, but I guess the rules of her clan, she is the leader, so she's got to set the example. And so
everyone gets one.
Yeah, everyone gets one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, after this scene, do you want to start moving into more of the speculation and things like that? Because I do think the dynamic between her and Crow is very interesting. I like how snarky they are with each other, and it'll be very interesting to see if and when Yang starts to come back, and to see what she kind of reacts to Yang then, what her thoughts on RWBY are, as we mentioned before. That would be very interesting to see. You don't know for sure like where her loyalties are going to end up lying, and that's what I like about a character like this, because you're right. You can tell she does want to care about her daughter, but she doesn't really care that much about her daughter right now.
Well, it's not that she doesn't care too much about her daughter right now. It's that she cares more about her.
That's what I mean. Like, not enough. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about her as much as the average person would say she really should care about her daughter. So
yeah, it's safe to assume that whenever the chips are down on the table, that she'll make the bet towards her clan over Yang.
Also, who says that she doesn't have another kid within the clan? So.
Oh boy,
that's true.
Now we're getting into speculation.
That's speculation. So before we jump into speculation, since we are kind of jumping into this at episode 4, we can talk briefly about the episodes that were released before that. So let's just talk.
Dragon, I love it.
Yeah, let's just talk shortly about episodes 1, 2, and 3. Episode 1 was great. It definitely did a lot of world building. I want to know more about these villains. I want to see them more. It's great. Hazel's probably the dangerous person out there. And Salem is Best Boss 2016 Business Award of the Year.
Yeah, that was actually really interesting. I do want to touch on that because I liked how she, in front of all the other, the other villains, she was acting very nice towards Salem to shut them up, and then when she was alone with Cinder, she was much more harsh with her. So she's not actually as nice as she looked for a second.
Well, in that scene, there was like a very much like master apprentice vibe going on there, whereas like when Watts was giving Cinder shit, like there was no reason for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that. It was balanced by when this next scene happened. Basically, like she kind of balanced out. It's like, no, I'm still expecting a shitload from you, Cinder, but I'm just not going to let them be the ones to expect anything from you. It's going to be me, sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of favoritism there that Salem shows Cinder. Like she almost spoils Cinder, maybe. I have a review up on my channel. For the people listening, I already have all my thoughts on record for episode 1.
Yeah.
And I'm working on the review for episode 2. I'm hoping that it comes out Monday night.
Nice.
Yeah, but let's be real though, maybe it's just as simple as something like Salem's a girl, Cinder's a girl, so she shows a bit more favoritism.
Yeah, and whatever it is, yeah, I could see that happening.
I feel she definitely
to assume Salem's a girl.
Yeah, exactly. Or she also probably cuts her a lot of slack because since she has the power of the Fall Maiden.
Yeah.
She's
also,
probably key to the ability, key to her plan.
Got to be more powerful than a maiden, right? Let's be real.
Well, yes, but maybe I think a safe assumption could be that what she wants to do to accomplish her plans, like the powers that she have, are incapable of doing it. So that's why the acquirance of the Fall Maiden's powers was very key to whatever her plan is, which we still have very little idea what the end goal is. Which I don't feel it's like an apocalyptic scenario. It's just she probably wants to eliminate Ozpin and then rule over Remnant from the shadows. But that's just speculation at this point.
Yeah.
Like destroy all the schools so they can't teach anyone how to fight back against her, and then take up place as ruler supreme.
Yeah, create a vacuum of power, then fill it.
Yeah. But, okay, so episode 2. So we got all the Weiss scenes going on there. People spending way too much time.
Dwarfs, OP.
Yeah. Okay. Let's ignore all the bullshit Facebook posts about Whitley being Neo and the Butler being Neo and everybody being fucking Neo. God damn it. I want her back too, but seriously, calm down with that shit. That scene with her and her dad, Weiss and Robo Daddy and Papa Schnee. I thought that was a very good scene. He's definitely worst dad 2016. Basically, to summarize, that concert's going to be very important, obviously. And I feel even more confident saying that, considering the fact that we haven't even had a scene with her, with Weiss since then. So, they're kind of just, that's going to be interesting. Something's going to happen, whether on purpose or not. I would guess that's going to be the catalyst for her to get away from her daddy, if I had to guess, and because something's going to go down there, whether she plans it or not.
That is assuming that the concert does occur this season, but at the pace at which this volume is going, that seems reasonable that that'll happen this season. Also, I do like the Butler. The Butler's cool. Weiss's younger brother is definitely an interesting character. He is an asshole though, but
well, we thought Winter was a complete asshole when she was introduced, and then she was okay.
Same with Weiss.
Yeah,
but yeah, we just need more screen time with the younger brother.
Yeah, and I don't know how important he's actually going to be. I mean, at the very least, we're going to have to see Weiss again pretty soon. But next part of episode 2, because we're trying to be quick about this. Because a lot of stuff we're starting to talk about is theories anyways, which will be in the next section. So then we got the next scene with Team Ranger, which is they happen upon the village that is destroyed, as it turns out, by
destroyed that village.
Right? Yeah, I wonder who destroyed that village. Turns out it's Raven's group. And that was a really great scene too. Again, more of that darkness that they're slipping into the show. You can see how just fed up with everything.
Nora gets upset with Ren for the first time.
Well, upset with him?
He walks off. He walks off after the huntsman dies, and he's like, "We should go." And Nora's like, "What, Ren?"
I thought it was more concern. That line was voiced with concern, not with being upset at him.
Yeah, but still, you can see how she is.
Upset and concern are pretty close on the spectrum too.
That's
also.
true. Yeah.
At that point, they both work.
That's true. Either way, the important thing, besides the fact that, clearly Jean is still upset, Ren is actually showing emotion for kind of the first time, really. That he's actually really pissed.
It while trying to hide it.
Exactly. So that's interesting. Besides the fact that that's one of the more interesting things about Ren this season is actually showing a bit more depth and frustration, which I like to see because I always liked Ren a lot, but he was always a little one-dimensional, so it's nice to see that. Besides the fact that he's turning everybody into Rensexuals right now, but also very importantly, the fact that it looked like the fact that him and Nora seemed to recognize that symbol together, and the fact that so that'll be something in speculation I'm going to mention in a little bit.
Same clan as Raven and Crow.
Yeah, so that's something I'll talk about in the speculation part too. So Team Ranger, they're trying to stay positive, but clearly they're still dealing with a lot of shit that's going on right now. And then of course, like we said, the Papa Schnee and Weiss conversation, that concert's going to be very important, I imagine, if it happens soon. And then of course we got Jean practicing Tapira's voice, Tapira's message, which that was the feels were real.
Pyrrha can't even admit her love to John through freaking a video screen.
Yeah, exactly. She's still friend zoned even in death and on video.
Oh, rip! Her character's such a doormat. It's so sad. But she served her purpose.
I know.
And so then we also get some real interesting stuff too with RWBY, which I'll save this for speculation though. But I think there's more to her silver eye powers, which we know next to nothing about, other than it blew the fuck out of Cinder
and the dragon.
And the dragon.
She swallowed some Pyrrha dust.
Oh no. She's in my lugs.
Yeah, she's in my lugs. Everybody's read that comic.
And so that basically rolls over episode 2, and then we roll into episode 3 with Blake being the angsty edgelord that she is.
God damn it, Blake.
She is being fairly reapery in this episode, that's for sure.
Which here's the thing, I like Blake's character because whenever she's on screen, I get kind of frustrated with her. But I get frustrated her in a way. It's like, please just turn back to where you were in like volume 3 whenever you were cool. And because it feels like her character will take 2 steps forward and then instantly move back like 4 steps. So it's just a constant of that.
Take 2 steps forward and walk back 4 steps. All she needs to do is turn around. Whoa.
Basically.
I'm just glad she finally has a good outfit. I fucking hated her original outfit.
Dude,
I hate her new outfit. Like her new
God,
outfit,
this one's it's so much better. Oh my God,
her new outfit is ridiculous. It is the worst of all the new outfits.
No,
it's what? What did CJ say? I didn't hear what CJ said.
No.
I will say though that
if we're talking about the outfits, there's like other ones that are. I mean, Ruby's I like Ruby's a lot. I like Nora's. Ren, I don't know why he's wearing sandals. That's a bit weird. Weiss fits what she's doing.
He's doing his best Madara cosplay.
Well, so steering us back on.
Yeah, sorry.
So we definitely get some insight too, also with with the boat captain and how he's.
Oh, that guy was great. I love the boat captain.
The boat captain was great. I hope he shows up again. Even
I hope so
just
too.
For a little bit.
Yeah,
it's very cool to see that. You get to kind of get a peek into just the lives of like the non-huntsmen and huntswomen,
which is something they've done so well this volume. I'm so happy with that. The captain, the guy, the blacksmith, the bar girl with Crow. Like they've been writing these little like side characters really well, and it's really helping the world building and just making the show feel more like a show. Like overall, I think it's helping a lot. So
so. It then rolls into Blake basically angsting a sea dragon, wyvern, or whatever we want to call it, into attacking the ship. Which it was a cool grim. I liked it too, and
the grim is very cool.
I really liked how they're like, "Oh, huntsmen, save us!" But the captain's like, "Switch into battle mode and get the cannons all loaded up and everything." And so it was really cool to see that, like, even someone who's a non-huntsman, like, will pick up arms and they're able to like defend themselves. So that is definitely like a nice touch. It kind of gives good.
Let's be real. No one wants to die, so of course he's going to run for the grid. Sort of show that, because if they left that out and kept it, just let the huntsman fight, that wouldn't be as realistic. Because we know how bad the Grimm are, and it's sort of like, well, they kind of need to fight if they want to live. So I liked that they did actually include that.
We're stuck on this boat together. We might as well work together.
Yeah. We could. I don't think we should speculate about how good or bad the fight scenes are. That could be a separate podcast we could do another time.
Yeah.
Because people are in disagreement about that. But I will say I do like that they incorporated non-huntsmen into the fight. I thought that was very cool. Again, love the sea captain. Also, to the internet, that girl is just a girl. Stop fucking speculating about everything else you're talking about her. She's a girl. Get over it. Anyway.
She's not just any girl. She's a brown girl with short hair. One of my favorite types of anime women.
I thought it was literally your favorite type of anime woman.
It is.
It's literally your favorite. And so we also get some Yang in that. So, well, also, let's stick with Blake there. You know, she's kind of confused about seeing Sun. Again, we can save the Black Sun and Bumblebee arguments for later, but clearly Sun is there to stay with her. He is kind of a shitty teammate for leaving his team. I don't care what side of the shipping wars you're on. That's a shitty teammate thing to do. But
he's on the record for doing that before too. Also,
yes, exactly. So it's consistent with his character. I like Sun's character. I like that we're seeing a lot more. We're seeing actual flaws from him. I don't hate him, but it's clear that he's got some issues. He's got flaws, and he's probably hiding another reason why he's there with Blake too, besides the fact that he's crazy for her.
I do believe that Sun will definitely improve the scenes whenever Blake is there.
Yes, she needs the foil, as you mentioned before.
He is a very good foil to Blake right now, especially in her current mood.
Yeah, I agree with that. So that I think that basically touches on that. And then we also got some Yang and Tai Yang in that. So surprisingly, which I actually really like, they just fucking gave her the arm. She's got, obviously Ironwood is the type of person to respect bravery and sacrifice and combat. So it's actually, that makes sense that he would put priority on getting something like that to her, despite everything else that's going on in the world. So that actually wasn't that weird to me. And we get some touches on her PTSD, which, of course, people wanted to argue that was not portrayed well, and the people with PTSD said, actually, no, it was portrayed well. Either way, it's good to see that she's still dealing with that. We saw that more so in this episode as well with her dream about Adam. But really, the end of it, this stuff is kind of pointless at this point because now she has put on the arm. So I think that really touches on everything. So that's actually kind of my first thing of speculation I want to... Oh, actually, and we also get the Tentacle Grim, which is very interesting, and I'm sure we'll have some speculation on that as well. But clearly that thing is kind of important and gives a little bit more insight and questions into Salem's powers with that thing. It kind of reminds me of some Zerg hive mind sort of shit.
Yeah, I brought that up before, that I feel it's a command and control Grim.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are now officially into predictions and the theories part, so everyone brace yourself and buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride, kiddos.
Yeah.
Right,
So
I want to see fan art of Crow in a dress dancing with Sean in a dress.
Yep. Oh god, yes,
God.
yes. That'll be great. It'll happen. We know it will. It'll be funny.
So one thing about like the Seer Grim is and somebody on Team Theory brought this up, but if any of you have seen Code Lyoko, the Schizozoa monster.
I have not seen that show. I've heard about it, but I've
Code
not seen
Lyoko
it.
is a really good show. That was like my favorite show when I was in 7th grade.
You were in seventh grade, so you know.
Yeah. I watched it again a few years ago, and it holds up pretty well. But
I never could get into it because the animation looked weird to me. But anyway,
yeah,
Seer Grim's interesting. Yeah. Oh, okay. Anyway, Seer Grim's interesting. Well, I want to say, that definitely gives some insight into Cinder's powers. She definitely has some sort of, we're not sure if it's control over the Grim. She created the Grim. She has some sort of symbiotic relationship with the Grim. Either way, she's got something going on.
I don't think Salem created the Grim.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just saying, like, we don't know. I don't think so either. I'm just saying.
Episode of RWBY, they're like, as long as there's been man, or almost as long, there's been the creatures of Grim, yada yada yada.
The Grim are almost an elemental force, pretty much, like the weather.
Yeah. No, I know. That was just kind of like throwing shit out there, but either way, she's
like literally God, but I don't think that.
No. But she definitely has control, seems to have some sort of control or very symbiotic relationship with them, which is marked only more so by that Seer Grim.
I think I've mentioned this before, that she might have some partial control with some Grim, or she might just have like an alliance or something with some Grim, and that little tentacle Grim is, the one that's really in charge of them. So if she wants to make Grim do something, like if she wants to make a lot of Grim do something rather than just a few, she needs to go to that Grim, and then that Grim's like, sign this contract, and she's like, and then bam.
Yeah, I'm here to bargain. Another thing that I feel has been looked over by a lot of people was, if you noticed on Salem's hand, which it wasn't in the first episode, whenever it appeared, was that ring that looks like
ring
that looks like a tick. And I want to say even some of like the veins actually like branch out from that ring. I feel that could be a plot device later on, because they wouldn't have and put that on her character. I mean, she does have like a lot of jewelry, as in like those black obsidian diamonds, but that's also like very specific too that it's on there. So I have a feeling that's part of the reason why that she has some form of control or a symbiotic relationship with the Grim, which my stance on it is Salem has a symbiotic relationship with the Grim.
Yeah,
well,
and it's just
something. It could be something that's helping Cinder with her treatment. That ring, that's why she.
I think.
It
Go ahead, CJ.
And she put the ring on and started doing something with that ring to help with Cinder's treatment. And then when she's not actually treating Cinder at the time, she doesn't need the ring on, so she takes it off.
Okay, so I think it might actually just be an accessory. And
yeah, it honestly could just be an accessory.
Something like this came up at the end of Volume 2. That Neo, Coco, and Raven all wore like the same necklace, and it was just a random accessory that those three character models happened to have on them.
Yeah, we still don't have confirmation on that. I mean, I'm not going to speculate about that because that's a little bit too much. But technically we're not sure. But it's like we can't know yet. We got to see what happens with things like that before we know for sure. I mean, the fact that Neo knows Raven probably seem to recognize Raven. I mean, especially now with her being the leader of that tribe, probably a lot of people kind of recognize who Raven is as a very scary and formidable person.
That Salem and that tribe have fought before.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Maybe that's how the old leader had to step down.
But yeah, I think the point. Yeah, I think the point is though that this Grim, the Seer Grim, it's definitely shows that Salem's power is pretty high, and she's definitely. It just kind of, for me, it kind of confirms that she's certainly quite the formidable villain if she can do things with the Grim and she can order them around in some way. Basically, the fact that she's got that control on her side, that's pretty scary, and there's a reason why. As powerful as Raven and her tribe are, they're definitely concerned about Salem.
Yeah, because I would assume they're probably high up on the hit list.
Yeah, exactly. They're probably high up on the hit list, as powerful as they are, and they have good reason to fear Salem themselves, even despite how powerful they are.
All right, so I think we can move off of this subject, and then I think we need to roll back into the Crow and Raven scene, especially just all the stuff that we can think up from that scene is just it's a gold mine.
There's so much going on there. I agree.
So what I am looking forward to is I hope it happens, and it seems reasonable that we will get this in this volume, is that Team Ranger will run into the bandit camp, the bandit team, the bandits, while they're attacking a village of some kind or whatever. And I am looking forward to whenever Ren and Nora run into them and they're like, oh no, it's you guys again, I'm gonna fight you now. Or if Ruby runs into Raven, which it's safe to assume that Raven knows of Ruby's existence. She
got to.
She might not know exactly of her whereabouts.
It's possible she doesn't know.
Yeah, it's a safe assumption that she does, but we have to wait for the chips to fall on this one.
But what I want to see is Renora they see Raven, they know who Raven is, and then I want to see a fight scene between Raven and Renora.
I don't, because they're gonna fucking lose so hard if they see. I love Nora.
Exactly.
I love Nora. I literally voted for her for president. If anybody didn't know that actually did happen. But she's slow. Nora is slow. She's powerful, but she's slow. She would literally get cut in half by Raven. That's
And
not a good. Yeah,
so, you know.
And yeah, I do not want to see that happen at all. What I do want to see is the fact that I want them to find out. See, the thing is, I don't really want them to run into that tribe right now in that way, because I think they would all get decimated. Because with how strong Raven is,
Crow would have to intervene.
Crow would have to intervene, or else they're all gonna die. Like, no question about it. So really, the thing is,
nah. What we see Ren and Nora start fighting Raven. They get messed up. Bam, Jean's semblance is revealed.
I was going to say that would be an opportunity for John.
I have another possibility.
Crow would have to intervene, though. I still think Crow would have to intervene there.
Okay, media, your turn.
Again, this is one of the reasons why we really need to know, like, what, more than anything else about Raven, we need to know, like, what she thinks of RWBY, what her relation with Summer was, because she might just see RWBY and be like, dude, okay, everybody just calm your tits. Let's be civil here.
That's a good point, actually. Shit.
And let's not destroy the last hope of Remnant.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because like she is,
or she doesn't know RWBY, but she sees her silver eyes and a similar.
Same kind of thing. Like, she recognizes basically the importance of what RWBY is.
And the scythe. Like, Ozpin was able to link RWBY to Crow using the scythe, so Raven probably would too.
Yeah, she's not an idiot, so.
Well, we
that's a.
All we know is that she's snarky.
That's a good point, though, because we can see that Raven is at least practical in the fact that she doesn't want Salem to win. That's more important than that definitely seems to be her number one priority, is the survival of her tribe, and Salem's power is the biggest threat to that.
Hang on, you say that if she was really that scared of Salem, I think they might be underestimating Salem, because if she really thought Salem was that bad, I think she'd tell Crow if she knew where the Spring Maiden was. So I think they actually underestimate Salem.
Well, I don't know. If
that goes to the whose we are you talking about?
And that also would require a lot of overt action from Salem and crew, which Salem and crew still seem to be operating in a very covert and stealthy manner.
Yeah,
as they're aligning powers, and I'm assuming the next goal is to probably topple Mistral, which would be a safe assumption.
Yeah, and I think it's also more that Raven doesn't, because it's pretty obvious to us, and which means it could very well be obvious to somebody like Raven who can teleport places or whatever, or just seems as knowledgeable and powerful as she is, that the Ozluminati is on the back foot. So with that in mind, the fact that she's not telling Crow the whereabouts of the Spring Maiden isn't necessarily that she's fully underestimating Salem. It's more that she believes that it's smarter and she has a better chance of success if she doesn't tell Crow, basically.
If she acts on her own.
Exactly. If she acts on her own, she has a better chance of winning or defeating Salem. Or
at least surviving. I don't even think she wants to win. She just wants to survive.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's more what her logic is there, more than truly underestimating Salem. Because if I were her in her position right now, like seeing that Crow's really the only active member of the Ozluminati, I wouldn't be telling his group anything, because they're useless to me at this point, besides just Crow himself. So they're not a help at this point.
I like how she did bring up, whenever they're talking, it's like, I told you that Ozpin would fail and Beacon would fall. I warned you. You could have prevented this. Ron Paul pictures appearing everywhere. It's happening.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I mean, I don't know how I could see Team Ranger interacting with them. Either way, it's safe to assume, I think, with my Renora agenda aside, that they recognize that symbol, right? That was a symbol or something that those two recognized at the end of Volume 2, and we now know that Raven is the leader of that group. When I'm going to say when, not if, when Ren and Nora and Team Ranger find out that a family member of RWBY and Yang is probably responsible for something terrible in their life, whether it's actually the cause of their parents' death or their family's death or whatever it is.
I turn on RWBY.
What's going to happen? That will be real. There's a lot of implications there, and I'm really interested to see that. Yeah, will they leave, and that's when we're going to get our juicy, wonderful Renora development that I've been asking for forever? Or either way, yeah, exactly. So there's that.
I think that's a good theory, but I think if Nora doesn't, I think Ren might at least be able to see that it's not necessarily RWBY's fault because
I don't think the team would break up, but there would definitely be like tension.
Yeah, I'm not sure the team's gonna break up. There's definitely gonna be tension. That's gonna be a very interesting dynamic to explore if they find something like that out. That will be very interesting, and I would that'd be pretty crazy. I'd like to see how they react to that, how RWBY would react to that, how people how that would kind of work out if they found something like that out, basically.
No. Just picture it in your head, right? You've got this sort of scenario. Raven's like somewhere, or they've just found out that RWBY's related to someone who was caused in the death of Ren and Nora's parents. Ren's all like, "Okay, RWBY, we get." You mind, like, sort of explaining who this person is if you know too much about them, because we know you're related to them. We don't know how much you know about them. And then Nora's all like, no, she killed us. She's part of the reason our parents are dead. And then we get a Ren versus Nora fight.
Yeah, I could see that. Which my Renora loving ass would still see as character development the same way that the Bumblebee shippers see a Yang versus Blake fight as character as a development as well, or anything like that. But I could definitely see something like that too, and that's why I say that opens a lot of possibilities because. I'm not the only. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one that Renora agenda aside, we need more development from them, and I was hoping for more in this episode. This episode was so goddamn good that I wasn't really that upset about it. But we need to see it. Like it clearly needs to happen.
The structure of the episode, it would have been very difficult for that.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't fit. I totally agree with that. Like I said, this episode was great, and I'm not upset about it at all. And I'm guessing the next episode will have some Weiss and Blake, and maybe after that we'll get some fucking Renora development already.
I think the next episode will be Team Ranger with Weiss sprinkled in towards the end.
Yeah, I can see something like that.
If we get like a 1 minute cameo of Oscar, that would be great too. Also,
yeah, we definitely need more Weiss again. I think. I
don't know how much I care. Like, I definitely don't care about Blake. I'd be happy if we don't see her ever again.
Yo, Blake is my waifu out of all of Team RWBY. I just gotta say.
But I love Weiss. I love where they're going with her. But just
I do too.
This episode, and I had the same reaction to Burning the Candle, which was halfway through Volume 2. I don't care about anything else going on. I want to know about RWBY, Yang, Raven, Crow, Ty, Summer, that entire family dynamic. I want to know,
yes.
like right now, another question on my mind is, how much does RWBY know about Raven? I'm sure she knows.
Yeah.
I'm sure that she knows that she is Yang's biological mom.
I think she basically just knows that Raven is Yang's.
Yeah, I think she knows basically nothing, to be honest, because
probably knows
nothing. I don't think she even remembers. When Yang and her were kids, because RWBY was like 2 years younger than Yang, and Yang was like 4 at this time or something. And Yang ran off with RWBY in a cart to go and find Raven.
Yang was supposed to be like 8 in that scene, I think.
All right, then RWBY's like 6 or something, but she's still she's like what? She's older now. I don't think she'd even remember that as much as other stuff.
Yeah, but in the years since then, surely Yang has opened up to RWBY because, RWBY has always been, a very incentive thing for Yang.
Lots and lots of heart-to-heart talk. Not really.
Yeah. Well,
no, I don't think so.
Because Yang is, a surrogate mother to RWBY, and so there's they are like really close, and they're Ruby's always been kind of incentive for Yang. Going back to that flashback from Volume 2, where like it wasn't that she almost got herself killed; it was that she almost got Ruby killed that made her sober up and be like, okay, yeah, I can't be just running off half cocked to try finding my mother.
It's a fair point. I feel it's a safe assumption with quotations and exclamation points around assumption that Ruby probably, well, she knows of Raven as in like, oh, Raven's Yang's mom, and she probably like I'm assuming there's probably like a picture or two of like Raven in the house that she grew up
Yeah,
in.
and like
Or
they've all
not,
seen
you
this.
know,
They've all
maybe
seen the
Kai
Stark
takes
photo.
down all the photos, you know, and a sort of thing for Yang, because he's known since Raven did run off that Yang, you know, was really into that. Maybe he took down all the photos of Raven, so Ruby's
Yeah.
never really seen any.
Well, no, because she's seen the Stark photo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
she has
that's
at least seen the
basically-
Stark photo. But I mean, let's be honest. At the end of the day, we can assume Ruby knows little to nothing about Raven. I don't think there's any...
Same with Yang. I think she knows about as much as Yang, maybe a little bit less
Yeah.
than Yang.
Yeah, so really, at the end of the day, she doesn't know much. That's all we can really say about that, I think, to be honest.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I agree. I think that, I mean, as much as my Renora agenda can allow me, I do think I care more about like that family and that family dynamic and all that stuff is what's interesting me the most now, as well as Weiss. But I kind of agree that Blake is not really interesting me right now. To be honest, she used to, but it's like,
How dare you?
she's like, honestly, because here's the thing, other than Adam, like, she's so outside of the main plot line right now. Honestly, she's not important to the plot at all right now. What she's doing is totally pointless in terms of anything that has to. All the other characters are on the main plot line, really, except for Weiss. But the point of her. She's probably is her getting back. Whereas Blake, she's trying to do all this other stuff with her family, yada yada. I don't really give a shit. I like the idea that she didn't really have a family. I was always under that assumption. So, and she's just being an idiot. Let's be honest. Like, as much as even if she thought she was leaving for the right reasons why she left, she was wrong. Let's be straight up. She shouldn't be gone. I don't think anybody would think she's making the right decision to leave her
Took the words
team.
right out of my mouth.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm fine with her being an idiot, but the thing is, at this point, with how well they're pushing this main plot along and everything, we've got so much speculation between, Raven. Yang's got her arm now, which is something we still haven't talked about, but that's something we have to speculate on soon. You got
I'm ready for Yang and Ty's training montage.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
Yeah,
well, I'm looking forward to whatever song that they make for it.
Yeah, you got Crow.
A bit back to Blake for a bit, all right? You're saying how she ran away and whatever reason it was wrong. Now, there's a bit where I agree with you, but what about this, right? So Blake and Adam, they knew each other for ages. At one point, Blake definitely trusted Adam. He was the person that she trusted.
Yeah, obviously. She was in a relationship with him. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a safe assumption to know that Adam knows where her parents are. Now, Adam's mad at Blake and he's going after everything she loves. She's got to love her parents, which is a perfect reason why she'd go back home. That's why she's not
Then
telling
why
Sun. She
not tell Yang and Sun and everybody
Yeah, exactly.
else?
And exactly. And again, there was I know
Well, that's
this
just
is
because Blake's the secretive little shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she's dumb. Again, she's dumb. That's being stupid again. Because the thing is, again, whether it was bad writing or whether it's just Blake's character of being kind of stupid,
Or maybe
we never knew she had a
family.
family. We've always been under the impression that she's been basically alone. They've never indicated that she has a family. She's never indicated that she had a family, right? Whether that was the writers forgetting to do that, or she just doesn't want to talk about it.
That could be it.
You're gonna call that bad?
Well, no.
It doesn't matter because the mother's pointless. The mother's pointless. They're making it very clear that the mother doesn't really matter.
Okay, like,
and
I have something to say about that, and it's actually implied that Weiss has at least talked about her family off screen, and I'm making this point in my upcoming review for the second episode. But the whole thing with Winter, Weiss, and Ruby in Volume 3 that, like, Ruby knew that Winter was Weiss's sister without having to be told that.
That's true. That's a good point. So, yeah, you could assume that.
So I'm going to try to wrangle this down a little bit. So,
Yeah.
Looking at Blake's, I'll just call it the C plot right now.
Yeah.
There is potential, especially for a lot of world building, especially with the White Fang. We don't know what's going to be going on with Blake's arc. We have no clue other than, like, oh, they're going to... I would assume that probably the next episode Blake shows up, they're probably going to be getting off the boat and trying to head to her parents, whether her parents are her actual parents or they're, like, her adoptive parents or her mentors. So whatever they are.
They don't have to be parents. What if they're
that's true.
That's sisters to Blake? What if they're just siblings? They're not parents. And
I would be happier with that. I would be way happier with that because it doesn't make sense for them to be her parents. It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't complain about the writing on this show as much as some people do. I would definitely complain about that because they've indicated that she's been basically alone they've always indicated something like that. They have not indicated that she has a close and loving family.
They also kind of indicated that Raven's sort of stone cold bitch and she doesn't really care. They indicated that with the way that, you know, she sort of went around and she just ran off instantly after saving Yang. But then once we see her, she's lighthearted. So
she's still...
I always thought that.
I kind of disagree with that because to me she's still consistent because she saved her daughter, but she's not going to do it anymore. She is shown to show some concern, but she's still not going to do anything about it. So in my opinion, she still kind of is pretty stone cold at this point.
Yeah, but you could tell that, like, she still kind of has an attitude very similar to her brother, as in, like, there is a little bit of, I don't want to say lightheartedness though, but, like,
snarkiness.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of snarkiness between the two that you would expect between brother and sister.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna blame the writing for what Blake hasn't said. We know that Blake is secretive. It's a massive possibility that a person like her, very secretive and very sort of felt that she's discriminated, just wouldn't mention her family because she doesn't like to talk about it, but she loves her family and wants to go see them. That's a huge likely possibility. You can't just blame the writing if they are her mum and dad.
Hell, her parents could be the old leader of the freaking White Fang before he was ousted and replaced by other. But then, like, just trying to keep this conversation under control, we have absolutely no idea where Blake's arc is going to go.
That's true.
So I feel we can move on from this.
I'm calling it now. Crap ship time. Okay. All right. Blake, she's gonna like the ship people are gonna like reward Blake and they're gonna become her crew and they're becoming pirates and they're gonna join up with some other baddies and Blake's becoming a baddie with her pirate crew.
I'm fine with that.
Well, okay, so let's move on from Blake.
Well, we're coming up on an hour and a half. So I'd like to wrap this up because I have to edit.
Can we talk about Yang just for a little bit, though?
Yeah, let's talk for Yang for a little bit. And also, I feel what we should state for the record is what the tentative group consensus is of the overall, like, how each character's arc will end. So let's talk about Yang for a little bit, then we'll go over each character and what we assume that their arc is going to be for this episode.
Alright, so for Yang, right. So we haven't really seen much of Yang. We've seen that episode 3, we saw her with her PTSD little thing, and Tai was really happy. And Yang had apparently done a lot for, to get Ironwood to make the arm for her. And he said that it was top of the line scientists working on it, which means it's got to have something more than just being an arm. Because you don't need the best scientists for that. I mean, Ironwood's got that stuff, and you could assume he got that from the best scientists at the time. But there's got to be better now. So, apart from it just being an arm, there must be some other modifications to it.
I think her weapon will be built into it. I think her weapon will be built into it.
I think so too. Yeah. She will do that eventually. Yeah, I don't see why she wouldn't build weapons into that.
First thing she needs to do is give it a paint job, though.
Yeah, it's gotta be yellow.
Yeah.
Yellow and orange.
Yeah. But either way, I think the important thing is at this point now, I mean, she's still going to be dealing with her PTSD, which is good. I think that's makes her a more interesting character. It's important to show that. But she has put the arm on. So, and I wasn't sure that she was actually going to put it on that quickly. That's why this episode was very interesting, because they actually touched a lot on Yang and showed a bit of development for her, and she's, maybe starting to try to get back into it. So that kind of leaves the thing. The speculation now would be, what is she going to do next? How long is it going to take her to try to? What's she going to do when she gets back to full strength, or gets to a reasonable level of strength and confidence again? She's not just going to sit at home anime. That's kind of, she's moving away from that at least. So what's she going to do next?
So we must remember the big reason why she put on the arm is that she wants RWBY to come back home and be safe. Now,
well, is it that she wants RWBY to go back and be safe, or is it she wants to help RWBY?
I think it's probably both, and the motivation will change, especially when this is kind of going into, we could do the overarching plots now for for Yang, since we're talking about her.
Yeah, it moves into
that. I feel that the overarching plot for Yang will be, she will have her training montage with Tai. We'll get to a point where Ty's like, okay, I'm gonna head off and go help and go try to find RWBY. And Yang will either be like, okay, but I'm coming with you because you still need to train me. Or B, this is probably less likely, is that Tai will go off by himself, and then Yang may return to Beacon and try to help put things back together.
Or she doesn't want to freak out Tai, and Tai's like, I'm going to go help out RWBY. Just promise me you'll stay here. Maybe go check around, see if some people need your help over down by the school, because they're still trying to do that up. It's only Grim. I'm sure you'll be able to handle it, Yang. And she's like, yeah, okay, yada, yada, yada.
And then ghost Tai the entire time.
And then one of three things happens. Either she does stay, she does help out the people. She goes off secretly without Tai knowing to go help out RWBY, because she doesn't think, Tai himself will be able to save them, because obviously they don't know that Crow's with her. Or before she can do anything, Tyrion.
That's possible too. But yeah, I mean,
or she goes and tries to go after the White Fang too, because the White Fangs are, well, Adam, at least from what it sounded from the newsreel in episode 3, is still in Vale.
Yeah, it seems like that
way.
Which
having the Fire Nation attack, so for anyone who's not familiar with that from the opening scene, those two faunus assassin-looking people look like the Fire Nation, so that's what we'll call them.
Everything changed
when everything can be related to Avatar.
Yes, that too also. So that is what I feel is the overarching plot for Yang. Media, if you want to add anything to it, do feel free to do so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it for Yang. I think she's gonna go along with Tai to help bring in RWBY in that. Who knows? Maybe along the lines they'll meet up with Raven.
Yeah, exactly. I think something along those lines, and they're not going to be able to bring RWBY back to Vale. Let's get that straight. Once they get there, they'll be, all right, well, we might as well go to Mistral shit or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's also a safe assumption that
whether it's with Tai Yang or just Yang, either way, that's what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, and it's also a safe assumption that Raven is probably still keeping tabs on Yang. Also, this will be slightly off topic, but I do feel that Raven's semblances, if I had to make a guess, is that she can have spectral sight with birds or other animals, and that's how she was able to keep tabs on all those different people. And it would also kind of fit into both Crow and Raven's character backgrounds as being the messenger birds for Odin in Norse mythology. So
that would be an amazing thing if in Remnant, if you have twins, their semblances are either the same or they work with each other because
complementary.
Yeah.
So that's a really good thing. If she can see through birds, then obviously Crow turns into a bird. And this is kind of crack. it's possible he might not be able to turn into a bird, and that was just a massive coincidence at the end of the season 3 trailer. I mean,
Rings hands.
All right, so we've talked about Yang and what her thing is. What do you guys think about the ending for Blake? We talked about it for a bit. No, let's go for Blake.
All right, let's go for Blake. Okay, so this is, I feel that I have a, so this is my thought process for Blake, is so Blake gets to Menagerie. She meets up with her parents. We get to learn some of the political stuff about the White Fang. I think it's a stretch that Adam would come out and would come and find her. I would feel it's more reasonable that Adam may have sent assassins after her.
Yeah, I would go with that because he does seem like he's more in Vale or something like that.
It also seems a safe assumption too that the White Fang probably actually, like, the White Fang are there in Menagerie, but they probably don't have as much like power and hold because there's this is where all the faunists are, because we don't have to face my racism and my discrimination. So
you say it's possible that that Adam would send assassins after Blake, but during Volume 3, he did say that he will destroy everything that she loves. And with the kind of person that Adam is, I do feel like it would be he would prefer to go and do everything himself rather than get other people to go try and do it for him. Because also, if he goes by himself, then to him, he's got a 100% guarantee that it will get done. So I think that he would go then assassins or something.
I think rolling back to Yang, I feel definitely Yang would probably be the first, like the more obvious target, because that seems more easily within reach. Oh no, we lost someone.
Yeah, we did.
CJ died.
CJ.
Rip.
But I agree. I mean, I'm not. I think she will go over to her family or whatever, and after that, I'm not 100% sure what she's going to do at this point. And as I mentioned before, I don't actually kind of give a shit at this point, so I'm not going to add anything more to the Blake discussion.
But I will say that her arc will end where they get back on the boat and start heading back towards the mainland. But we just got to wait for more episodes to drop. So, Media, do you want to add anything?
The only thing I want to add is that, like, we assume that Adam's in Vale because of the newscast. That just might be misinformation. Because from a story writing perspective and going off the opening, it would actually make more sense for the assassins to come after Yang and for Adam to be going directly after Blake and her family.
Yeah, well, if the Fire Nation are like high-ranking members of White Fang who wear that special type of outfit and they're like assassins, they're going after Yang. Obviously, you're basing that bit off the intro. And as we know, intros can be very misleading. And
they like to mislead things. Well, because one point I like to make is that the fact that Yang's poster had her without her arm, and she already put the arm on. So, like that was already something that was quite misleading. It also showed her training without her arm.
She put the arm on. That does not mean she will keep it on.
It sure seems like it from the way Ty spoke, and that's what there seems to be they're implying.
It does seem to be that way, but I'm just having it pointed out now. It does not mean she will keep.
No, that's true. That's true, but it's just a point to make about the intros or posters or whatever being misleading, because that is something that they've done before.
But yeah, and also they would kind of want to play that would be a big reveal, like, of what Yang's arm looks like, so it makes sense that they would play that card close to their chest. So I think let's now move on to Weiss.
Yep.
Weiss's arc could be potentially a very interesting arc.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the group consensus that we have with this, that Media and CJ and Dude, we all came up with together, is so assuming that the end of Weiss's arc will be whenever the concert ends. Now, if the concert happens in this volume or the next volume, we don't know. Probably the next episode we get with Weiss,
let us know. Yeah,
we'll hopefully have a better idea. So if we make the assumption that the concert will happen this episode, which we have no idea where it's being hosted. So if it's hosted in Mistral, let us say that. So, as I forget what the scene is though, but it's from The Godfather where the leader is asserting his dominance and people are getting murked in the background. So Weiss is singing and she's doing all this stuff, and she's completely clueless that like the White Fang could be hounding down her family, or there could be like a fight with RWBY or Yang, and they're fighting someone while like it's cutting in between them. So, but it's a safe assumption that Weiss's arc for this volume will end with her, will end once the concert is over. Which, if the concert happens in Mistral, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because it's known from episode 1 that Dr. Watts is either already there at Mistral or is getting there shortly. Which I really hope in the upcoming episodes we do see some more of the bad guys in the next episode, in the upcoming episodes.
One thing that's possible with Weiss is, obviously, Papa Schnee said that the concert would be held in a few weeks, and we were talking about how the concert is something that could possibly be at the end, or maybe during the middle of Weiss's phase, because it's possible that it's sort of the middle, and that bit just leads on to a lot more story that we haven't seen, be built up yet. So what's possible is that the concert happens at a point that doesn't necessarily, what if nothing bad or anything major happens at the concert, but after the concert, it brings up, something that can happen. Like, for instance, Weiss escapes from her dad or something. If it happens in Mistral, something like that could happen. And the concert isn't the main focus. It's what happens afterwards.
That's a fair point.
I could see that. I would still guess that the concert is really going to be the catalyst. Whether or not she plans on leaving then, or it just turns out that something happens, because clearly a big event like that would be target for the White Fang or something like that. So, to the point where something will happen to trigger her to try to get back to her team or something like that. But it's definitely around that time. That's when she's going to be leaving or getting back, because I can't imagine her staying with her family for that long. She hasn't really indicated that she wants to leave, but it's very clear from the way she's portrayed. Again, going back to the fact that they actually can kind of do facial expressions, the fact that she's holding her arm the entire time. By the way, why does everybody hold their arm in this volume? But she's not.
Everyone's upset as hell.
That's the thing. It's the arm holding volume, except for Yang, of course.
It's the same person doing all the mocap.
Yeah, that's probably it. But either way, she's not happy where she is. Clearly, she's not happy where she is. So she's going to be leaving sometime, like whether it's the end of this volume, sometime in the middle of next volume, or early in the next volume. So that's why I think the concert is definitely is going to be the catalyst for that.
Or maybe Winter's like, hey, I've got a mission. Do you want to come with? And Weiss is like, sure, because then that gets more Winter into the show, and I want more Winter in this show.
Yeah, Winter's pretty cool. I'd like to see more Winter also.
Okay, let's roll into. If there's nothing else to add, let's roll into Ranger and RWBY.
Hang on. Just a little bit to add. You're talking about how Weiss could go with Winter. That's a possibility. And then by the end of the volume, everyone has it could be that everyone has one other person that they're with. By the end of the volume, Team Ranger's split up, and Nora's with Ren, or they're with someone else. Maybe Ren and Nora have a bit of a falling out. Weiss could be with Winter. Yang could be with someone, maybe Ty, and Blake could be with someone, most likely Sun at this point. So that's something that might happen. All right, continue.
Yeah, I kind of don't want them to be any more divided than they already are.
Yeah, it's possible though.
I think we're slowly gonna see them, we'll see how they're gonna write the characters back together. The whole team might not join up as a whole together. We could see maybe RWBY and Yang getting back together. I say RWBY and Yang. RWBY and Weiss getting back together, and then Yang could join up a little bit later with Ty, and then Blake coming back from Menagerie, heading towards Mistral. And so that could be the way. I don't think we'll see the teams back together at the end of this volume, but I could see the original team partially reunited by the end of this episode.
Yeah, I could see something like that. And I think for Ranger, interesting points I would imagine would be like, well, how is Jean going to develop still? Obviously, he's still dealing with losing Pyrrha. Be interested to see how he develops. Do we see a semblance? Obviously, we got to see a bit of his semblance this season, I imagine.
I really hope we get a semblance this season, but I
Yeah.
have a feeling that shit has to go down for his semblance to appear.
Yeah, and that's... Yeah, and as far as like, so RWBY, I don't know exactly what I'm expecting to see with RWBY, because again, she's still sort of the Harry Potter, just like I am the vehicle for which we experience the other characters' developments.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I'm more excited to see where's my fucking Renora development already. I've been waiting forever for that.
You don't get
It seems like it's gonna happen. I mean, we should recognize the
Yeah.
symbol that could end up something with. We got to have some sort of insight into their past. And that's why I'm very interested about the fact that Raven is the leader, because that would be a very interesting way to trigger or something that could relate to an explanation of their past. Again, which is why, you know, Nora's so crazy in love with Ren, that's at least that part's obvious. No one's gonna argue that. It's like how Sun is obviously into Blake.
With Ren and Nora, they just need to get over themselves, get over whatever hang-ups that's holding them back, and just kiss already.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the JonTron thing?
Something that's
Just kids already.
Yeah.
Something that's gonna, you know, nothing like this is not gonna happen anytime soon. But what I want to see is someone either in Salem's dimension or somewhere else where Grimm have little pools in the ground where they can come up from. I want to see someone fall through that and, you know, see what's happens between that. 'Cause is it just like a pile of acid that borns the Grimm, or are they like portals from another dimension? Something like that. That's what I want to see at one point.
Yeah, I feel definitely with the Team Ranger arc, them running into the bandits seems like a reasonable plausibility. I feel like their arc will definitely... Well, it just really depends on how far this volume goes, but I think whenever they arrive at Mistral would be a good ending point, but we don't know how... We don't know if, like, between, like, episodes, like, 2 and then 4, if they've been, like, on the road walking for, like, just a day or a couple of days. So we don't exactly know. So
what if there's like a mini time skip during the volume? After one episode, it skips to like a few weeks.
I could definitely see
it. Possible, yeah, we could see that.
I mean, it's happened more times than it should have.
Next episode, we go straight to the concert, something like that.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we don't know about that, but I agree. The interesting thing about Ranger too is that they are headed toward Mistral, but from what we can see, Mistral's not. There's nothing there for them as far like that we know of, because Salem's not there. We can assume that she's not really in Mistral.
Well, Watts is.
No,
Watts is, but she's somewhere on Remnant probably. But my point is that like they're going there because Crow tipped off about Cinder being there. And I mean, I think right now it's safe to assume that's not where she is. So what happens when they get to Mistral will be very interesting.
Yeah, well, I think they're just going to be doing some like snooping around and stuff because they know, or at least they can highly assume that something bad's going to go down at Mistral. And obviously, we know that it is Haven. That's the next academy. So it's going to be, I think, a similar thing to what happened at Beacon, but a possibility is, you know, for the finale of, I'm going to say for the finale of the Mistral series, it could be something along the lines of we've got like the whole of Raven's bandit clan there, because it's possible they're going in that direction too, maybe taking a different route, because Ranger did meet up with a recently destroyed village with Raven's gang destroying it. It's possible that Raven's gang is heading to Mistral for one reason or another. And by the end of the Mistral seasons, there's a big fight and Raven's actually helping out. And we see like the whole thing of her crew, you know, destroying stuff like that.
Oh, wait, here's that made me think up of something. So let's say they get to Mistral in this volume and the volume doesn't end. And they're like, yeah, we ran into a bunch of towns that were destroyed by these bandits. And then the government in Mistral's like, okay, we really got to do something about this. And then so they send a whole bunch of troops and huntsmen from outside of Mistral into the surrounding cities in attempts to locate that the bandit clan. then while a lot of the city's defenders are gone, that's whenever Salem and her crew take that opportunity to do what they need to do to topple Mistral.
I don't think Mistral's going to really get in the sort of position to try and beat up the Bandit Clan, because obviously communications like really screwy without the CCT. I don't think they're going to really know about the Bandit.
Well, they could know about it whenever let's say they RWBY and Team Ranger goes to the school and they're like, hey, we ran into a bunch of raided villages, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we got to go send people out to investigate this, and they send a sizable force to do so.
Yeah, maybe Renora talk about the symbol to the guys, and they're like, we've known this symbol before. They're a pretty bad gang. Do you know the last place they were at? And it's that we will see the Bandit gang again before they get to Mistral. So they'll be like, last time we saw them, they were over here, and then they're like, all right, cool, go.
Okay, and one thing I want to bring up, because I feel we can definitely end this. I've said this before, not on the podcast though, but the one moment that I'm looking forward to with RWBY's character is whenever she has to kill someone. Not oh no.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
I've kicked you off the train into a pile of Grim, whatever. She has to deal the killing blow on someone.
And I just don't, and I don't want her to be a little bitch like Aang. I don't want her to be a little bitch like Aang. I don't think she will, though, because we've talked about, like you said, we've talked about this before many times in this Discord chat and everything. The thing is that I think she's pretty vicious, man. She doesn't really have, she doesn't give a fuck. She'll kill us. She'll kill people.
I know. But that's one possibility. She'll just kill someone, What I'm waiting for is when someone, not necessarily RWBY, because that it might not come to that, but when someone has to kill someone that they're friends with.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
So
that'd be interesting.
For my closing thoughts, aside from technical stuff that this episode did well that I'll get into when I do my own little review of the episode, the pacing in this episode was just the best. The pacing of this volume spin, I've been really impressed with.
Yeah, same.
But RWBY's character doesn't need to change a whole lot. The thing is, it's kind of a misnomer that a character has to change throughout a story. That's not true. A character just has to be given the opportunity to change. There's plenty of awesome stories where some of my favorite characters ever have been the type of characters that are given opportunities to change and then they don't. And RWBY is one of them. RWBY is one of my favorite characters of anything I can think of, and she's the one that facilitates change in people, especially Weiss and Yang.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I like I said, I think she's relatively a flat character. She doesn't change too much, but I'm fine with that. I like RWBY a lot as a character. I have no problem with her being that way. Like I said, I see it in the way of let's get development from the characters on the side, like whole thing of the biggest reason why I don't ship Lancaster that hard, although you guys have kind of convinced me a little bit. We've talked about that before. Is the reason. Because she doesn't need a relationship. Renora is the relationship right there and right next to them. That's the one that needs to develop next, right? We don't need RWBY to have that. We're all Ren and Sean. Yeah, and even people that don't really ship Renora are okay, you're gonna have to talk about this eventually. Same thing with Black Sun. We talked about Black Sun before. I think most of us here are Bumblebee shippers, actually, as far as I'm aware.
I don't care enough about Blake to ship her with anybody.
That's fair enough. But either way, whether or not Bumblebee happens, whether or not Black Sun happens, we've talked about this before. I think my two biggest, two things I'm thinking about right now that I can at least speculate on is actually shipping things, because they're things that I'm pretty sure have to happen this season. They're two of the only things I'm pretty sure have to happen. You got to get Renora development. That's within the next two volumes. Nora cannot hold in her feelings any longer. That just can't happen. It's from everything we've seen, the feelings are too strong. She can't hold it in any longer. And Black Sun.
Her feelings since she met Ren, because we.
That's okay. Well, not met Ren, but The point is the way they're portraying
A
it.
bit afterwards, at least.
The way they're portraying it, it's got to happen soon. It's the same thing with Black Sun. Somebody said it first. I think it was High Powered. Black Sun sinks her sails in this volume, and I still agree with that.
Well, I said Black Sun is for me. It doesn't matter how it goes, Black Sun or Bumblebee, as long as it's not like ham-fistedly written into the story.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like that ship has to come to a head this volume. I feel like it's too like obvious that he can't likes her too much. We got to figure out what her feelings are soon. Like they can't drag that on too much either, I guess is what I'm saying. And that, I guess that's what I was kind of talking about. I was like, we don't really need something like that for RWBY. That's why it's okay with her being a flat character. All that other sort of stuff, like the PTSD for Yang, the trouble that Weiss is having with her father, some backstory for Ren and Nora, Jean dealing with Pyrrha, all that stuff. That's plenty of stuff. That's why it's okay if RWBY doesn't have as much going on, because all that other stuff was going on with all these other characters, basically.
Hey, what would you do if Renora finally becomes canon, but they basically have it the Arcos way? They get one kiss, then one of them dies.
No!
I would riot. I would riot so hard.
Ravioli.
And not just because Renor literally is my OTP, not just in this show, but period, because I hate when people misuse that word or that phrasing. I use it properly. But also because that'd be really stupid, because they'd be doing the same thing twice, and I would not understand that at all.
Well, not the same thing twice. Well, unless they kill.
That would essentially be the same thing twice, though. That would essentially be doing the same thing, though, which I wouldn't understand.
Okay, what if they do it a different way? They get one kiss, then one of them kills the other.
That wouldn't even make sense.
That's not even gonna happen.
That doesn't even make sense. The one thing I'd be fine with, as I would sort of be fine with them being the what's the Harry Potter reference I'm trying to think of? Tonks and Lupin. I could see them being the Tonks and Lupin of this show, where they get together, possibly have a kid, maybe not, but they get together and they die together. I'd be sort of satisfied with that. If they die together, I'd be okay with that. But I still personally see them as, I've mentioned this before, as the Lillian Marshall of this show, where they're sort of when you need some cuteness, when everything is getting dark as shit, them being together and being kind of cute and funny. Because let's be honest, they're dynamic. The reason why everybody ships them is because even not as a couple, they sort of act like a cute and quirky couple together. Their dynamic works well.
They're a comedy duo.
They're a nice little comic relief duo, and that's all they really need to be. That's why it just seems obvious to just find a cute way to get them together, and that's sort of it. You don't need to bother with them too much after that. Like, you don't need to have relationship drama. They're just that little bit of relief that you need, that you'll need when stuff starts getting darker, because as much as it's true that they're making this volume a little bit lighter in tone, all the stuff they're setting up is even darker than what we've seen before. So That's why I think that's necessary. And there's my Renora tirade for this podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And so I think
that might be a decent place to end it.
Okay, so if anyone has any shameless plugs, do feel free to do so now.
I mean, I'll start off.
Videos, but subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, I'll plug this channel. Please subscribe. I'm trying really hard to get reviews for the RWBY episodes out.
His reviews are good. I like them. I think they have more insight than a lot of the other people that are much bigger. I won't name names, but
yeah, I mean,
totally. He goes much deeper.
It's his video, and this has no effect. Shouts out to media.
Yeah.
Shout outs to media. I like media's videos.
Good stuff.
And I mean, I'm still just starting.
This video.
Quality finish memes.
I'll also plug my fanfiction account. You can find me same as my YouTube channel, Mediocrity4. I write the RWBY
I'll do the
series.
same. I'm writing a fanfiction as well. Dude, what the heck on fanfiction.net. Same thing.
I might eventually post my shitty fan fiction of Operator Man in the RWBY universe.
Yeah, I'm doing a RWBY volume 4-ish one.
That's how RWBY on Veil started for me.
Yep,
anyway,
there you go. That's what mine's doing
I don't
too.
want to get into that because I can talk about that for hours, and I did
exactly.
the other night.
Yeah,
remember.
We can do our plugs. That's good.
Alrighty, so we will conclude this inaugural podcast, and hopefully we will have more of these, and God forbid what we'll have to do whenever the volume is over.
Oh God, yeah,
Oh,
we will
God,
have to do a
yeah.
big closing one, but yeah, best not think about that. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching.